Hello, this is T West, and welcome to Afro Synergy. United Nations Under Secretary General, a sister of British descent, who is also over the humanitarian affairs. Her name is Valerie Amos. She has come out with a very strong statement of censorship against the Israeli government and what they're doing to the Palestinian people in Gaza. She has indicated that this is unnecessary suffering. Valerie Amos indicated that consequently 1.1 million Gazans are dependent on food aid due to the blockade, in referring to the Israeli blockade against the people of Gaza. And she also called for an end to the man-made and protracted humanitarian situation through a lifting of the blockade of Gaza. Now, we know for many years the Israelis have blockaded the people in Gaza from getting the supplies that they need on a daily basis. However, the Israelis are not in agreement with this. They are asking that Valerie Amos be censored herself. Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister Danny Ayalon today lodged a complaint against the United Nations top humanitarian relief official. This was following Valerie Amos's remarks. Amos is a former British politician. She has served as the United Nations Under Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs. She indicated that I am extremely concerned at the level of violence today and at the number of deaths and injuries in the region. The situation cannot continue this way. It is innocent people who are losing their lives. The words of Valerie Amos, UN Under Secretary. Now, of course, the Israelis maintain that the border crossings were instigated by the Syrian government as a way of distracting attention away from the bloody crackdown on the nationwide protests that are rocking Syria. And the Syrians are also indicating that these people who are promoting this violence within Syria are external of Syria. So what does our president, Barack Obama, what does his administration have to say about all of this? The White House has indicated that Israel has the right to defend its border from unauthorized border crossings, and that Syria and Lebanon have an obligation to prevent those unauthorized entry across the border into the state of Israel. Now, it would be nice if the United States would apply that same logic to themselves, to their military, which crosses over into the Pakistani border whenever they like. They bomb on the side of the Pakistani border whenever they like. They invade Pakistan whenever they like. We see this happening in Libya as well. They're killing innocent people, maiming hundreds of people, civilians, in Libya, under the guise of protecting civilians. Well, I think that Cynthia McKinney had something very good to say about our president, President Obama. I want to share a little bit of that with you. In an article by Cynthia McKinney entitled "President Obama Gets His Groove Back by Attacking Africans." Now, you know I've done several pieces on the Ivory Coast as well as Libya, and what the black position should be relative to Mr. President Barack Hussein Obama. Cynthia McKinney indicated President Obama promised change to the people who voted for him. He told them to hope again and that change would come. But President Obama's change is really more of the same. Therefore, his elixir that was sold to the world was nothing more than snake oil. The most damage, of course, is being done to those whose dreams were intricately woven into his words, not realizing that words are not policy. In a most deadly treachery, those who believed in our president the most are the ones who are now suffering and dying the most. Some people to this day remain tricked by the salve of the words for the wounds inflicted by our president. Others have begun to sink into despair while some search for answers. But our president is adept at giving us, in the words of the late great Fred Hampton, Chicago's other son, answers that don't answer, explanations that do not explain, and conclusions that do not conclude. It is to those searching for answers that I refer to my previous writings compiled on the websites, and to the writings of Bruce Dixon and Glenn Ford and the entire BlackAgendaReport.com team, and of Wayne Matson, whose writings can be found at WayneMatsonReport.com. In Rosa Clemente's and my 2008 Green Party Power to the People presidential campaign, I tried to warn the attentive public of what was to come under an Obama administration. Even I could not imagine that it would get this bad. I knew that dissent would be intolerable under an Obama administration, enforced both from the black political consensus and from the Democratic Party wingnuts, quashing dissent, even with all of the attendant special interest burdens that come with any aspect of the Democratic Party. I knew that the Muslim world was going to be in for a shocking, rude awakening, but even I could not conceive of the carnage this president could bring to that part of the world, either by a policy that encourages Muslims to kill other Muslims, or by the dropping of bombs and the use of depleted uranium on Muslim communities. But not all that. We are seeing the murder of whole countries and the communities and cultures that gave rise to them. The president's policies are dismantling and dismembering Pakistan and Afghanistan as we watch. The United States Embassy in Iraq announced plans to employ a total of 16,000 people, doubling its staff within the next 2 years. The only antidote to these policies is unity, and I hope that the residents of these countries are able to unite and resist in a much more effective way than have anti-war liberal communities inside the United States. Of course, some individuals stand out and are leading the resistance now. I can only hope that their voices are heard and multiplied among the masses, both here and around the world. Now, we must remember the words of Dr. King, that America, his country, is the biggest purveyor of violence in the world, using their weaponry, testing them out on other third world countries and peoples. Cynthia McKinney went on to say, I do believe that Henry Kissinger was onto something when he marveled at the tremendous goodwill that this president has around the world. And I do believe that Henry Kissinger, among others, sought to use that goodwill for their own purposes. After all, when you buy a president like a slave, he becomes yours. It is clear now that the people of the United States did not buy this president, and so they do not own him. There are clear winners from the policies currently being pursued, but they are not the people. Speaking to Henry Kissinger, let me just say this about him and his minions. When I was in Congress, I received a phone call from Alassane Ouattara from aboard Henry Kissinger's yacht. I had received many such calls from people wanting to benefit from my good reputation within the human rights and peace community in the United States. And they wanted me to sell their particular potion of iniquity to people inside the United States and to the world. Usually these people were the kind of people accustomed to buying the consciences of public persons. So my no resounded rather sharply to them. I had received many such calls from people wanting to benefit from my good reputation within the human rights and peace community in the United States. And they wanted me to sell their particular potion of iniquity to people inside the United States and to the world. Usually these people were the kind of people accustomed to buying the consciences of public persons. So my no resounded rather sharply to them, and I earned yet another set of crosshairs on my forehead, I guess. Alassane Ouattara and his Zionist wife, Dominique, and you have seen pictures and heard my commentary about Alassane and his Zionist wife, Dominique. And you've seen how they have treated the First Lady of the Ivory Coast, and it is a tragedy. Alassane Ouattara's wife, Zionist Dominique, they were seeking my assistance, or maybe my silence, in his effort to become president of the Ivory Coast. I applaud Laurent Gbagbo in his efforts to stave off imperialism in the Ivory Coast, one of the few African countries that has not one iota of a relationship with the United States military. However, as a commentary note, we saw Barack Obama give the okay for the French and the United Nations to decimate the government of Gbagbo in the Ivory Coast. However, Democracy Now!, Fox News, CNN, the Associated Press, Reuters, and all the rest did not tell you that when they ran their many stories about the Ivory Coast. While the world will celebrate democracy arriving in the Ivory Coast once Gbagbo is gone, and you all know the real meaning of democracy. It is not what most of the world say it is. But while the world celebrates democracy and its arrival in the Ivory Coast, once Gbagbo is gone, the exact opposite will actually be the case. Handing the Ivory Coast over to Henry Kissinger and his ilk is the policy of the Obama administration. Now, I ask the question, is he black enough? Is he? I guess President Obama is proving his worth. Perhaps no one could have done it better. But it does not stop there. Look at what President Obama's policies are in Haiti. When the devastating earthquake struck there, only the fifth in the entire history of that country, President Obama sent in the drones when the people needed food, needed shelter, and needed medical relief. And you all know about the report that I produced showing the Israeli Defense Force going into Haiti for 10 days. And we know some of the members of the IDF have been responsible for stealing organs of Palestinians and others in the past. Imagine how many organs they would be able to get in Haiti had the whistle not been blown on them. But when that devastating earthquake struck in Haiti, President Obama sent in the American drone aircrafts. And we know these drones are killing hundreds and even thousands of people in Pakistan and in Afghanistan, mostly under the administration of President Obama. All of this instead of medical relief. How is that any different than what George W. Bush and Michael Chertoff, a Zionist, who sent men with guns into New Orleans, military and mercenaries, after the Hurricane Katrina, when the people really needed food? Now, because of President Obama's policies and his complete prostration before the vicars of the imperium, that is the Clinton family, the so-called first black president, Bill Clinton was a rabid Zionist, and his wife is no different. But who called the shots on the future of the Haitian people? The Clinton family? Haiti can only see more struggle against domination in its future. Hillary Clinton went to Haiti to snatch self-determination from the Haitian people in the victory of Jude Celestine, and to instead select a musician buffoon who once mooned his audience in a concert for Haiti's presidency. Now, for those who don't know what mooning is, that is turning your ass around and showing your ass to people, mooning. And in Haiti, all of this was with the smack of legitimacy, granted when one can successfully threaten the election commission with revocation of visas to the United States and control the Organization of American States and the United Nations that has troops of occupation in Haiti. Had George H.W. or George W. Bush or John McCain or any Republican done any of this, there would be enough hot air to float the Hindenburg. The streets all across the United States would be aflitter. There would be animation in Congress enough to make John Boehner cry. Instead, however, the very people who wield official power and who could stop this madness because they supposedly represent the interests of the people, silence themselves and let this happen. Unity, again, is the antidote. The sand